animals that we see all the time. And so, the main focus for us really is centered around that, is making sure that the safari is exceptional. That you see those lions, you sit on that safari vehicle and you have this, beautiful male lion walk past you. You hear that roar, it really sears into your brain for the rest of your life. And really, the lodge itself is centered around the safari experience. We have activities and all sorts of things that you can do there, spas, gin tastings, but things that you guys will be able to do in the States. But we've learned over a long period of time that, the happiness that comes from coming on safari is what happens when you're on that game vehicle out in the bush, drinking a gin and tonic as the sun goes down and listening to a lion roar in the distance. So that's really what we're good at. And yeah, we're very excited to have all of you come through.
I smile as I return to memories of previous travel experiences to Africa. Being in a safari jeep at sunset, listening to the wild animals in the bush with a gin and tonic all sounds absolutely fantastic to me.
I can tell you, for everyone who decides to come, it is a life-changing experience, properly goosebump stuff. Just something that you'll never, ever forget.
Yeah, never forget. Kruger National Park, for those of you who have not been to Africa or done a travel experience like this, there's 3 major destinations in Africa for safari. And Kruger, many people consider the pinnacle on the continent. Of course, Serengeti, Tanzania, and Kenya. One of the great things that I want to say before we jump into the itinerary that is very exciting. This is the second meeting that we've had about the Happening Travel Club's trip to Africa, and very, very exciting news. Exciting for me because in all of my travel experiences, I have never been to Africa in the way this experience will be. The Shuduli Lodge is generally, and luxury lodges, this is a 4-star lodge, luxury lodge in the Kruger National Park area. In my experiences, safari groups are relatively small. And so when you stay at a lodge, you're a mixture of lots of other people, either on an individual basis or other kinds of groups like the group you're traveling with. And when I have done safari in Kenya and Tanzania and in South Africa, I have always been escort host of a group, and there are other groups mixed. That is not what will happen for this trip. Very exciting news in that the Happening Travel Club has secured all of the rooms at Shuduli Lodge. And so this is going to be a private safari experience for Happening Travel Club members. We have every room at the Safari Lodge. There are currently 60 guests from members from the Happening Travel Club that are traveling on the trip. And that is really exciting, because in addition of the incredible experience that you will have at Shuduli, we are not concerning ourselves with interfering in any way with other guests. So our activities, our social evenings, our midday time that we have, which is freer than morning and late afternoon, evening game drives, are all directly planned for the Happening Travel Club members. And that is a very unique experience to be at a boutique safari lodge. The Shuduli has 31 rooms. To have the entire property is a very special experience. And even for me, with the amount of experience that I've had, I have never had that experience before. I've always been mixed with other people. Matthew, when I say that, is Shuduli excited about having all of us and no one else, or does that scare you a little?
No, absolutely not. I think, this is something that we really know what, how to do. I think just a few points just to add, you talk about those three big kind of safari mecca spaces in the world. The one thing that really defines the Kruger from the Serengeti and, the Mara, places like that, is the kind of intimacy with which you deal with the animals. So, you'll see videos all over the internet with hundreds of safari vehicles following a mother cheetah or a pride of lions, whatever it happens to be. In Korongwe, we limited to 2 vehicles in a sighting. So it's complete intimacy with the animal. There's no big crowds around you. It's you and silence. And it's something that I think South Africa gets very right in terms of how it operates safari. We make sure not to get in the way of an animal, but it's just an important note that it just adds huge value to the safari experience. And then, just in terms of the lodge itself, I think we pride ourselves in terms of our hospitality. When we manage, all of the lodges very tightly on our data, and I think one of the things that you guys will absolutely love is just the staff and the people, the guides, the trackers on the front of the Land Cruisers. Just the spirit of the people on the ground is incredible. It's infectious, smiles all over the place. I think the food is absolutely delicious. And just a special spot. I think you guys will be blown away. And another thing just to note is that the time when you guys are traveling is prime game viewing time. August is starting to get a little bit warmer. So in centigrade, you're talking kind of between 25 and 30 degrees Celsius. So it's actually quite warm at that time of year. But I think the most important part is because, the leaves have fallen off because of the winter, the game viewing is better because you can see further into the bush. When you arrive at Korongwe in the middle of summer, it's very difficult to see a lot, but you guys are coming in prime game viewing time. So no, it's set up to be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other thing that I want to mention before we move into the itinerary that is very exciting. If you haven't been to one of the 3 principal locations, Tanzania, South Africa, Kenya, for safari, one of the things that I think is outstanding on this itinerary is when I have escorted tours in Kenya, I've moved quite a bit, and the tour planning was having a 1-night stay someplace, leaving from Nairobi, 2 nights staying someplace, another 3rd location staying 1 night or 2 nights. That is not what happens on this safari experience. So we'll get into the itinerary in a moment, but the other thing that is super special on this itinerary is I think that the plan for this safari to Kruger is hits the sweet spot. It's 5 days and 4 nights. So it minimizes your packing and unpacking, which is very, very important in terms of the relaxation of getting into the feel of the destination of Kruger National Park and the animal experience and the safari experience. And it also gives you the ability to do some other things beyond animal game drives. Balloon flights are possible. There's lots of different kinds of sightseeing experiences, whether it might be recreational experiences like bushwalks or massages, sauna, or whatever it might be. It takes the time to do that. And 1 and 2 night stays, which are so frequently common in the other 2 principal locations in Africa for safari, they're good, and you're seeing a lot of territory, but in terms of seeing the animals, I think it's Shiduli has this kind of message of like for the Big Five and really beyond the Big Five, seeing all of the Big Five is guaranteed with an asterisk on it, almost. But they can say that because the chances over your 5-day stay is really outstanding in terms of you being able to see the animals that you've come to Africa to see and witness and to experience. And you can only really do that with the length of stay. 5 days, 4 nights at Shiduli Lodge is the sweet spot. If you're going to go that far, let's do it right. And I think this itinerary does. Matthew, I'm going to come back to you and I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to point out for those who aren't familiar with metric, 25 Celsius is about 77 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's quite comfortable.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, David. I appreciate that. Matthew, I'm going to
So
come back
that's
to you. Sorry,
that's
go ahead.
our midwinter. That's
Yeah.
our midwinter. Just so everyone
Yes,
knows.
We're in Florida, so we have a great appreciation for
Okay.
South Africa winter and spring and fall.
Okay.
All right, so David, let's move on and we'll dive in. And Clive.
Clive is not going to be able to join us today.
Oh,
So,
okay. I wasn't sure, but I have lots of experience at Victoria, so I'm going to tell you. So this is kind of breaking news here today. Our first presentation talked about 2027. We're announcing a departure for August 8th of 2028 today. Now, the August 24th departure is on waitlist only. The trip is completely full. Now, we have been in waitlist back and forth for about 2 months now. And I would encourage you today, you're getting to learn about this itinerary, but we're more than a year away from this departure. And a very significant number of the guests that are currently confirmed members on the trip came from waitlist. And so if you're interested in the trip for August 24, 2027, you should complete the reservation form. And you will go on waitlist. And then the travel club clears the waitlist in the order that it was received. And a very substantial number of guests were waitlisted and have been confirmed. We will continue that process, I understand, from the travel club. So you want to do that. But currently the August 24 departure is waitlist, and that's what you would do. Today, announcing the new departure for August 8th, 2028. And if you want to begin to plan for 2028, the travel club in coming few days is going to be sending out the announcement where you can make reservations for the 2028 departure. So it's the identical itinerary into what we're talking about today, and we are going to go through the itinerary to make sure you're clear about what the experience in Africa and on safari is all about. Next. It's 13 days. There's two pricing for the program. The $39.99 price includes all of the government taxes and fees, and it is for 3-star accommodations. You move 3 times on the trip. Johannesburg is one location, Kruger National Park, and Cape Town in South Africa. Various lengths of stay. It's a 3-star accommodation. If you would like to upgrade to 4-star, which includes the Shiduli Lodge, the Shiduli is all inclusive. So in addition to breakfast and featured dinners in Johannesburg and Cape Town, it includes all of the meals at Shiduli, and that is a supplement which we'll talk about in just a moment. Quite a good value, obviously, for this itinerary at $308 a day. Quite a good value. Next. Of course, this is escorted, and this is escorted on steroids. The travel club's trip has 4 escorts on the trip, plus there will be local representation guides, not only at Shiduli, but also in Johannesburg and Cape Town. So with our guests, it is quite a helpful management of things that you would like to do and see while on the trip. I have quite extensive experience on this itinerary, and we'll be able to help you at every step of the way. I will meet you, and the other escorts will meet you on your arrival in Johannesburg, and we will be with you and traveling with you all the way to your departure from Cape Town. As we go through this itinerary, you'll see that. Next. First class 3-star hotel accommodations are included. It's 3 nights in Johannesburg, 4 nights at Kruger National Park, and then 4 nights at Cape Town. And you can upgrade to 4-star accommodations, and it's one price. We'll show you that in a moment, of the 4-star upgrade. That'll include all 3 locations: Johannesburg, Cape Town, and of course the Shiduli Lodge at Kruger. Next. And there's the upgrade. The 4-star upgrade is $199 per person double. It's really an outstanding value because remember, when you upgrade to 4-star hotel, it's all locations. So you move to a 4-star hotel in Johannesburg and in Cape Town. But very critically important, you move to the Shiduli Lodge at Kruger National Park. And for that 5-day, 4 nights, the upgrade price is all inclusive. So instead of just breakfast daily at our 3-star property at Kruger, it includes breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and drinks. Some drinks included in the stay. So it's a tremendous value for the 4-star upgrade while you're in Africa. Next. Comprehensive sightseeing is included. I love this picture because every time I look at it, I see the lion's face and I think he's looking at me, and is he thinking about eating me? No, he's not. This is a very safe experience. This is a situation where we are not prey for these animals. It is a very interactive experience, and you have lots of expertise with you. Comprehensive sightseeing is included. In Johannesburg, you have complete sightseeing in Johannesburg, all transfers included. In Cape Town, which in my opinion is the most beautiful city, please forgive me, Matthew, that I didn't say Johannesburg, but I think Cape Town is the most beautiful city in Africa, and you're going to be there for 5 days and 4 nights, and comprehensive sightseeing is included. And then very important while you're on safari, when you are at Kruger National Park, very comprehensive. You're going to have game drives every day. And in fact, through your stay, you're going to have 8 game drives in the morning, in the late afternoon. And so your propensity for animal sighting is quite dramatic, very comprehensive in the sightseeing components of this trip. Next. Features lots of meals. Breakfast is included everywhere. Johannesburg, at Kruger, at Kruger National Park, and in Cape Town. And then if you were in the 3-star or the 4-star upgrades, you have a feature dinner in Johannesburg and a welcome dinner in Johannesburg and a feature welcome dinner in Cape Town. And then if you upgrade on the 4-star hotel at Shiduli, it's going to include all of your lunches and all of your dinners. So it's a very meal inclusive trip. And often ask about what breakfast is like in South Africa. It's very much like it is here in the United States because it caters very significantly to Western European, American, Canadian taste for your breakfast buffet experience. Next. All transportation is included. This is very important because the travel club does not handle your air. And the travel club constantly reminds us, of which I personally completely agree with, no one should handle your air internationally to South Africa. And really anywhere, to Europe, South America, wherever you go, Asia, you should handle your own air. Because if you get into any situations with cancellations, delays, etc., you want to work directly with the air carrier you're flying with, not a travel agency that books your airfare. That's just my opinion. But the travel club does not include international air for that reason. It's much better for you to be in control of your air. However, once you arrive in Africa, everything else transportation-wise is included. So when you arrive in Johannesburg, you have private transfers 24 hours a day. Regardless of when you arrive, private transfers are included for you from the airport to the hotel. Then all of your sightseeing and transportation is included. Your transportation from Johannesburg to Kruger National Park, which is by road, obviously, once you're in South Africa, is included. And all of your transportation while on safari at Kruger, back to Johannesburg, and when you're in Cape Town, you arrive, depart at the airport, your transfers are included. Private transfers. All of your sightseeing is private sightseeing. All of your game drives are exclusively for Happening Travel Club members. So all of your transportation is included. The only thing that you need to do is air to Johannesburg and leaving from Cape Town. And in general, just to give you a ballpark, you can't even book air for 2027 yet because you can't do it until about 330 days in advance. And I wouldn't do it that early. About $1,500, $1,300 if a sale, etc., is approximately what it is from Florida to Johannesburg, returning to Cape Town. I should also say to you, it is a long flight. One of the things that you might want to look at that I recommend on this trip is if you do, there's several options of pre and post tours, which we're going to talk about today, but you're also in a situation where you might want to connect through Europe and fly KLM, for example, to Amsterdam and stay a couple of days in Amsterdam. There's generally no stop charges or fees to do that. There's various different ways that you could get to South Africa. But the bottom line is all of your transportation, with the exception of your flight, is included. Next. Now, the trip route, in looking at this map, this is essentially what you're doing. You're coming into the middle, you're going north, you're coming back to the middle, and then you're flying south. You can see Johannesburg in the middle is where we are going to arrive in. Pretoria, right above it, is the capital of South Africa. We will be staying in Johannesburg. And then we do a surface transfer, meaning a road transfer from Johannesburg to Kruger, which going from Johannesburg, you're going approximately to 1 p.m. on a clock. And at the end of that is Kruger National Park. And you see the reference to Kruger above it. And we stay 5 days and 4 nights in Kruger. Then from Kruger, we come back to Johannesburg and we stay 1 more night in Johannesburg. And the reason we do that is it's too strenuous to come from Kruger back to Johannesburg. Please remind me as we get closer. We'll ask Matthew Bose, who's in Johannesburg, he and his wife, to host us for a cocktail party or something. Remind me to ask Matthew about that next year while we're in Johannesburg.
Yeah, I do it for a living, so just knock on my door and you're welcome.
Right, exactly. And then after our additional night in Johannesburg, we fly to Cape Town. And Cape Town Air is available from the travel club, and you'll do 5 days and 4 nights in Cape Town. And then at the end of the trip, then you depart for home. And there's a pre-tour, which we'll talk about in a moment, before Johannesburg, and there's a post-tour after Cape Town, which we'll talk about in a moment. Next. Day one, of course, we fly overnight from the USA to Africa. Our departure dates that you see for 27 and 28 are the correct dates to leave from your local airport. Orlando, Tampa, Miami, Atlanta, wherever you are, that's where you would be flying from and on that date. It is an overnight flight from the United States to arrive in Johannesburg. And more if you want to stop in Europe. You can fly via South America to Johannesburg and stop in South America if you would like. Various different ways to do it. But day one is an overnight flight. Then on day two, you arrive in Johannesburg. Johannesburg is a large metropolitan city, one of the largest cities on the continent, and very international, and lots of history in Johannesburg. South Africa over the last 40 years has had difficult times and spectacular times. And Johannesburg is a good place to learn and experience all of that. You'll stay 2 nights in Johannesburg at the beginning of the trip. And on the first evening, we'll have a welcome dinner party and a cocktail happy hour at our hotel on our first arrival day. But day 2 is simply a rest. Welcome, getting to meet everybody and situating yourself to overcome the jet lag. On day 3, we begin our sightseeing. We'll do a comprehensive sightseeing in Johannesburg. Beautiful things to see, great museums, lots of history connected with Nelson Mandela, which I find very interesting in Johannesburg. And it is a very international African city. You'll feel like you'll feel like many places in Europe, but it has an African flair. And Matthew, I wanted to ask you really quick, since you're in Johannesburg, I know you're the expert on Shiduli, but in Johannesburg, just tell us a little bit about for villagers and people here in Florida and the U.S. that haven't ever been to Africa, much less Johannesburg. What's the vibe of the city like? Your travels in the world, where does Johannesburg sit in that?
So I think the first thing that's going to surprise everyone here is how well everything works. So please don't think that there will be no Wi-Fi and the roads are dirt roads. It's everything that you will be used to at home. High-speed internet, very good infrastructure. I think the city itself is very cosmopolitan. It's a melting pot of a lot of different cultures from South Africa and Africa. An interesting note about South Africa is we actually have 11 official languages, which is the highest in the world. And it's because we have a lot of people here, a lot of Indian migrants, a lot of kind of European settlers from the early kind of 1800s. Obviously, a lot of local African people who've been here for centuries, and all kind of came together into what really makes Johannesburg what it is at the moment. And yeah, if there was a city in South Africa that really kind of gave you the spirit and vibe of South Africa, Johannesburg really kind of amplifies it in every single way. But really great food scene. As I said, lots of great museums. A lot of the time it's seen as kind of a stopover to go somewhere else. I've lived here for obviously I've been to university, but I was born here 38 years ago. I love it. And yeah, no, I would definitely look at it as something that you should be excited about on your trip. Obviously, the safari in Cape Town are incredible, but don't overlook Johannesburg.
Yeah, that's right. And Matthew, Johannesburg, Cape Town, who wins?
Cape Town. I went to university in Cape Town, and yeah, it's just the most stunning city in the world.
Yes.
I've been lucky enough to travel and see some places. I've been to your amazing country 4 or 5 times. I have siblings who live there. It's a very difficult place to beat. I think you guys will be absolutely amazed.
Matthew, thank you, Matthew. And thank you for being honest. I agree with you completely. However, on the international travel scene, Johannesburg is often overlooked, which is a surprise to me because there's so many wonderful things to do and experience in Johannesburg. It's very different than Cape Town and very different from Cairo, for example, another major city on the continent. So it's a wonderful place to experience. And Matthew gets to something that I try to help members understand. We have this impression that we're going to a third world country, and that there could be nothing further from the truth. You are not. You are visiting a place that is very first world. South Africa is probably the leader of nations on the African continent, and modern hotels, great restaurants, great museums, great transportation, metro systems, etc. So we have this impression, and Matthew hits it, you're going to be on dirt roads and there's no internet. Nothing could be further from the truth. That is not true. And today you'll see a big portion of that, of highlights in our sightseeing that's included in Johannesburg. Next, on day 4, we begin the most exciting portion of the trip. Very different. Johannesburg, obviously, is very different than the wildlife scene and very different than Cape Town. That's another reason this itinerary is spectacular to me. When you go to Nairobi and you do the game drives and parks in Kenya, it's outstanding, but it has the feel of sameness where you're going. You will not have that on this trip. Johannesburg will feel completely different than Kruger, and Kruger and Johannesburg will feel completely different than Cape Town. So you're going to different places and you're going to feel the difference in the places you're going to. On day 4, we travel by surface to Kruger National Park. In our day, we will it's motor coach transportation. We'll do all of the same kind of things that we do for travel club trips. We pay attention to our bathroom stops. We pay attention to refreshment and food stops. And you're traveling out of this major metropolitan city into the bush, as Matthew told you, to Kruger National Park. Kruger is immense in size. Huge. You're looking at the size of Connecticut for the national park. It is gigantic, and we're staying in Shiduli at the Game Safari Lodge, and we will unpack and be there for 4 days. And again, the real plum of this itinerary is we have all of the Safari Lodge. It is perfect size for our experience because we're all together and we're not having to worry about interfering with other hotel Safari Lodge guests, which makes this very, very special. We begin with a welcome dinner, and actually we will get the Safari experience launched right there on day 4. Because we're going to do game drives, which will begin on the first day when we arrive. Kathy, we have you now. Your sound all
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes.
I've switched to my phone now because none of my headsets were working.
Yeah.
I could either hear you or not hear you, whatever the case might be. Yes, I'm here.
I wanted to introduce Kathy. Kathy, you missed a very important moment when Matthew finally surrendered Johannesburg to Cape Town and said, Cape Town's better, right?
I actually could hear you.
Oh, okay. All right. Kathy, you're in
Cape Town.
Kathy, right. Kathy is with African Welcome Safaris. Kathy is very well known on the continent in terms of the professionalism of safari and travel to Africa. And you're in Cape Town right
Yes.
now, and that's
Absolutely.
where you live.
At the best city in South Africa. Sorry, Matthew.
Yeah, and I would take that a step farther. Cape Town is the best city on the continent.
Yes.
Actually. But Kathy, catch us up a little in terms of the experience of coming to South Africa for those that are participating in the meeting live and those that will watch this on demand. We were just talking, Matthew alluded to it, that sometimes we might think of South Africa as third worldish, dirt roads and no internet. Kind of fill us in on your perspective of the travel experience to South Africa.
Okay. Well, I can say without a doubt, because I would say 99% of our clients are either from Canada or the USA, that there's not one client who's gone back home and said they will never listen to the media again about reports on South Africa. And they were pleasantly surprised about how the infrastructure works, it's modern, how friendly and warm the people are, and also how safe they felt. And I think I could tell you without a doubt that there are at least 60% of our clients who come back to Africa more than once because they fall in love with it. They get the travel bug, or the Africa bug, if you want to put it that way, which is the best bug to get. And they want to come back over and over again. I think, a lot of people have a misconception that it's maybe unsafe, or they're not sure if you can drink the water here, and everyone will be very pleasantly surprised and will absolutely want to come back again. And it's such a huge continent and there's so much to see and do. So you go into Johannesburg, Kruger, and Cape Town, but there are so many other things to do in Africa as well, and it all requires more than one trip.
Yeah.
So I personally think that when you come to Africa, you are absolutely going to fall in love. And the people in South Africa are so friendly, so warm, so welcoming. Never mind all the beautiful scenery you're going to see and the game viewing experience that you're not going to regret booking, without a doubt.
It's very, very well said. Kathy, are you South African? Were you born in Cape Town?
Well, I'm African. I was actually born in Swaziland, which is
okay.
it's a little landlocked country in the middle of South Africa.
Right.
But I have a South African passport, so I am South African. But I was actually born in Swaziland. Where you got the Swazi people.
Yes. And I always remind myself, and I try to remind members, You're listening to from both Matthew and Kathy, you're listening to a very, very beautiful accent. Americans love the Australians, but that's only because they're not as exposed to South Africans. But the South African accent is even more beautiful than the Australian accent.
Oh,
It's 'cause it's
thank
Dutch,
you.
not
I
British.
tend to agree.
Exactly. So, Kathy, one other thing that I wanted to ask about on this day, kind of help people understand the travel from Johannesburg up to Shiduli Lodge. What's
Okay.
that experience like here on day 4?
So obviously, depending on the amount of people who finalize on the trip will depend on the size vehicle that will take you there. So obviously we will book an appropriate size vehicle. If there's 30 of you, it'll probably be in like a 42-seater vehicle. So there's enough room to move around. You're not all squashed together and crammed. So it is a private road transfer, but obviously time's taken for stops along the way. And if there's anything to see along the way, but we'll get you there as soon as possible. But if you need a rest break or something to eat along the way, that the vehicle will stop for you.
And what
And
are
then
the
once you
roads
get
like?
to, sorry?
Before you get to Kruger, to Shiduli,
Oh.
what are the roads like?
No, they're all tarred. They're all tarred. They're freeways and main roads. You're not going to be driving in on dirt roads or anything like that. It's only once you actually enter the Kruger and you're actually in the Kruger Park itself, where coaches aren't even allowed. It's only the game drive vehicles drive there. Then you're obviously more on your dirt roads and your more sort of untarred kind of roads. But the actual trip up to the Kruger is all national roads, well signposted, tarred, safe.
Okay, very good. And then you were starting to say when we arrive at Kruger, we do a game drive on the very first day that we arrive. Kind of.
Well, I'm not
describe-
sure what time. I presume you're all going to fly into Johannesburg the day before, because the flights from the US usually arrive in the evening, right?
Yeah.
So we'll make sure that you get to the lodge in time for check-in and for your afternoon game drive. So when you get there, you'll have some welcome drinks, you get settled in, unpack your bags. And then on the first day, you do your first game drive, which is late afternoon, which goes into the evening. And the game drives are usually between 2.5 to 3 hours, obviously depending on what you see on your game drive. So if you're going to see a lion kill, for example, they're not going to rush you. So it might go over by half an hour or whatever the case might be.
Right.
So the time is taken for you to really enjoy and relish the bush and focus on what you're seeing and when you see it, and you're not rushed by any means.
Excellent.
Right.
And Matthew, so we start with these game drives every day. We have a morning game drive and an afternoon into the evening game drive. Explain for our members the uniqueness of your vehicles, of having a spotter and a driver. Explain how that works. We have Lion Country Safari here in Florida, and you drive through it, and that's a completely different experience than what you do at Shiduli. So try to help us understand what that experience is like with your vehicles.
So, I mean, it's interesting. Depending on the time of year, the setup of the actual vehicle is quite different. So, if you look at these pictures on the left, in August, when you guys will be traveling, the vehicle is like the one on the far left with the elephants. We take the roofs off the vehicles because there's no rain and because it's not as hot as it is in the summer months. And so you are kind of, able to look, at the stars when you're on an evening drive, and obviously have the warm sun on you when you're driving in the early mornings. So that's something just to note. I far prefer it that way. And then just in terms of the drives themselves, in the morning, they start quite early. So, all of the kind of the big cats, which, is what everyone loves to see, the leopards, the cheetahs, the lions, they are up and about very early. And obviously as the evening comes as well, during the middle of the day, it really is too hot for them to move around. And that is the reason why you have safari, early in the morning and late in the afternoon. And yeah, the experience is amazing. In the morning, we usually get up at about 5 or 5:30. You are on your vehicle as the sun is coming up. And then every single day kind of starts with a little bit of a mystery. You get out onto the road. There's nothing scripted at all. So, it might be that around the first corner, you see something incredible. It might be that it takes an hour or two. both the morning and the evening drive are kind of, there's an interval where you sit down and you either have a cup of coffee in the morning with some rusks in the bush, and then in the evenings, like I said, we usually find a water hole or somewhere just to sit and watch the sun go down and have a gin and tonic. So, it is an incredible experience. The drives themselves are usually kind of between 3 and 4 hours. And yeah, I think the most important thing to note, like I said, is it's not scripted, and I think something that Al mentioned right in the beginning that was really important is that because you guys are there for that length of time, you will see amazing things. I mean, I can almost guarantee it. I was going to say I was going to buy all of you a drink if you didn't see the Big Five. But I'll have to watch myself. My wife will get upset with me, but it just really gives you guys the time, and the ranger and the tracker that are looking after you, the time to really kind of immerse yourself in the safari experience. I'm very positive, very confident to say that you will see amazing things. And yeah, I think that's mostly it. But yeah, just in terms of the setup, that picture on the far left, like I said, because of that time of year, you are on essentially the back of a Land Cruiser that's specially crafted for the bush. And it is just the most amazing feeling getting up in the morning. There's a hot water bottle waiting for you with blankets. It's all, there sitting for you when you get onto the vehicle, and you just head off into the bush. And I promise you, there is no greater experience, no greater feeling. It's
Matthew, by the way, Kathy, Matthew, you'll have to come up to Johannesburg because Matthew is going to invite us to his house, and he and his wife are going to have us for cocktails.
Well, he must have a really big house.
Right.
Yeah, they
Matthew,
invited themselves.
Matthew, tell us about the vehicle. How many does it carry?
So there's 3 rows, so it's 9 in a vehicle. Obviously, we try our best where we can to have less than that. But I promise, when you're traveling with a group of people that you like, it's always nice to be part of your group. So, one thing, because you guys have the lodge to yourself, we will allocate extra vehicles to that so that you guys, it's nice and spacious. The other thing just to note is that you'll see on that setup on the left, there is someone driving the vehicle. That is what we call a guide, or it used to be called a game ranger. They are properly qualified, so they come, with a Fagasa. They understand, the bush, how to read an animal, if an elephant's upset, or that type of thing. And then on the front of the vehicle, you see there's a seat where someone is sitting. They're very brave gentlemen. They are trackers. And they basically read the road in front of the vehicle. So you'll be driving, and all of a sudden that man sitting on the front there, it's a seat, and it is safe, I promise. He will tell the rangers to stop, and he is just reading the footprints on the Jeep track in front of the safari vehicle. And it is amazing. You'll be kind of chatting to the person next to you, and you'll stop, and this gentleman gets off, and they walk into the bush, and they'll be like, there's a lion, 50 meters away. They read the road like you guys read road signs. It's just an incredible thing to watch. And we have the same setup at Karonga. We have the tracker on front, and then the guide or the game ranger driving the vehicle. And the two of them are kind of your hosts while you're on safari on that vehicle. And I promise you will love them.
Matthew, I also want you to explain something that I find fascinating about the game reserve and Shaduli. Having been in Kruger, actually a number of times, they couldn't leave the road, and so if they see tracks like you've just described, for you and your tracker and guide, they can leave the road, which is a very unique feature. Which means you can wander to places where you can't see generally. In Kruger experiences. Try to help everyone understand what that means.
Yeah, because Karonga is on private land, we are able to drive off-road, and it's a thrilling experience. The heart races because we try, you guys won't be aware of where the rangers are going or what they've heard. All of our rangers are connected via a radio system, which goes directly into their ears. And so you won't be aware of what you're coming on. There's always a bit of mystery and romance in terms of the fact, they will know that there are lions ahead, but you guys won't know anything. And yeah, if you have to go off-road, like I said, it's a thrilling experience. They'll go straight over a pretty big tree in these trucks. And then out of nowhere, you'll just see a big male lion or a leopard or whatever it is that they found. But yes, because it is private, and because, like I said to you, you only have 2 vehicles in a sighting, we are able to off-road. We call it bundu bashing in South Africa. It is a thrilling experience.
Right. And one other thing that I want to briefly touch on, and it's very important, what Matthew just told us in terms of being able to get off the road. That is a very unusual experience at Kruger National Park and in the region of being able, the guide and the tracker being able to wander and follow the footprints or whatever that they're The other thing I wanted to ask about is many Americans that have not had the experience of South Africa and safari, they hear about these game drives in the morning and in the evening, and I have frequently been asked, well, but why can't we do it at 11 o'clock in the morning when it's more convenient for me to do it? Kind of explain again why it's so important to do this in the morning and in the late afternoon and evening.
Yeah, so I mean, the main reason is the big cats. So, you know, primarily the lions, the leopards, and the cheetahs. That is when they're awake. You know, in the middle of the day in Africa is quite hot, and so they try and conserve their energy in the middle of the day. So you will see lions in the day, but they're usually under a bush. We call them flat cats. It's not a exciting experience because they sleep for 20 hours of the day, and the 4 hours when they really are moving are those times as the sun is coming up and the sun is going down. Yeah. So the best time to see them is, like I said, you up. It is a little bit chilly, but you up. You see the sun coming up. You have that cup of coffee. You're on the road, and that's why you do it. The other thing is truly thrilling is, you know, the lions love to roar as the sun is setting. So you'll be sitting next to a big dam or a beautiful river, and then all of a sudden, while you know you're sitting there eating your snacks or doing your thing, you'll just hear out of the bush, you know, that magnificent roar, and it happens at those times of the day, and it really is just about being active when the animals are active. You know, you'll see elephants throughout the day, you'll see rhinos throughout the day. It's more about the cats. That's why you get up early and drive in the dark.
And for all of our members listening to this, to that observation, it's another reason why I want to make sure you may not automatically understand the value of this itinerary. When I tell you, in my experience, in my experience of escorting, hosting groups to Africa, this itinerary hits the sweet spot because you're there for 5 days and 4 nights. This is not jail. You're not made to do anything. So if a morning you don't want to do a drive, you don't do a drive. And you don't have to worry about it because you're only staying 1 night or 2 nights. The pressure is completely removed in terms of your need and desire to be doing the game drives. We have included, Shaduli and Kathy, have included 8 game drives. But if you choose not to do it, that's completely, absolutely acceptable. And you won't worry about, am I going to miss? Because your chances are almost guaranteed you're not going to miss, because you have deeper and deeper experiences, but you have 4 days, 5 days, 4 nights to do it in experience. You're not rushing in and rushing out. It's so many of my experiences of the itinerary that I've had to host have been that kind of experience. And this is very unique in that if one morning or one evening you choose you don't want to do that, you want to do something else, you want to go on a hot air balloon ride, you want to go to an animal rehabilitation center, whatever it might be that you want to do, you have the ability to do it. But otherwise, the cats are moving in the morning and the cats are moving in the late afternoon and evening, and that's why we're going to watch it. So that's what we do. Kathy, Matthew, in terms of Kruger in general, anything else you want to add before we continue?
Well, if I could just say something, I also think the advantage of having 4 nights is it takes you a while after your hectic, frantic flight from the US, bit of jet lag, to actually just settle into that bush feeling. And there's no way to describe it, where it's so dead quiet, and the stars are beautiful. There's no big city lights right in your face. You really settle into that feeling of being one with nature and hearing animals in the distance at night. So it can take about a day for you to really get into the bush safari kind of feel. So by the time you actually get to day 2, you're now relaxed and there's no rush because you know you're still going to another 3 nights or 2 nights to go. Whereas if you're just doing 1 or 2 nights in the Kruger on safari, it's really like fully into the whole thing immediately. And this gives you time to sort of almost like reestablish yourself in a different type of environment, which is very different to where you've been and probably where you've ever been in your life. And I think it's so important. And then by day 2, you're going to start getting excited because you've already had your game drive, your first game drive that afternoon. And I promise you, no day is the same. No day is the same. You're going to see different things every day and have different experiences. And then the one other thing I wanted to mention when you're talking about the game drive vehicle, you'll see that the seats are staggered up. So you can see over the people in front of you. They're not on the same level.
Yeah.
So, and you all got a window seat, so to speak, even though there are no windows as such. So you will always be a little bit higher than the person sitting in front of you. So your viewing and your sighting, you're going to be able to see the animals really well from the game drive vehicle.
Thank you. That is so clear in terms of what you just said. One of our member participants just asked about with the size of the group, will all of these vehicles be together? Now, this is a very important question. And the reason it's a very important question is when we were coming to Shiduli, Shiduli is incredibly popular. It was going to be full no matter what. With the Happening Travel Club or without the Happening Travel Club, it was going to be full. So all of those people that would be at Shiduli would be there anyway. But as Matthew explained, in terms of an animal experience, no more than 2 vehicles. And so the vehicles, it's the same number of rooms and the same number of people that we would have been with, except now it's all us, the Happening Travel Club. And vehicles are not traveling together. And they're not overwhelming an animal experience. And the reason I say this before, perhaps Matthew or Kathy want to add to this, but from my experience, I have been on experiences at Kruger, and especially in Kenya, where there's 25 vehicles that have approached an animal encounter. This experience at Shiduli is very special because of the limitation of that, and you won't have that kind of experience. Anything, Matthew? Am I getting that right? Do you want to anything you want to add?
Yeah, so every night, the vehicles, so at Shiduli, there'll be somewhere between 6 and 8 of those type of game viewers. And the reserve is very big. So you'll go off in different directions. Obviously, if there's a request from your guys' side to say that, two of these vehicles must sit and we'll have drinks together, halfway through the drive, obviously we'll organize that. We can also chat internally about doing some really cool, maybe a bush braai. We can do something like that as well. I'll chat to Kathy about that. The vehicles go off in different directions. They don't follow each other. So each drive, like I said, is intimate. You don't know what's going to be happening. You won't see a lot of vehicles when you're out there. You might bump into someone halfway through. If you've seen a line, what usually happens is you radio it in and someone who's close comes and joins you in that sighting. But for the most part, it's quiet and it's you in that vehicle just with the people that are around you.
Excellent. All right. I saw the balloon question. We'll get and please keep asking questions like that, and we'll get to all of that for you. So we'll come back to the balloon question. So that's day 4. That's just our first day. We've just arrived, and everything we've talked about is just the first day. Then on day 5, we start to fall into kind of a pattern. Day 5 is our first full day at Shiduli and at Kruger National Park. We'll do a morning drive. We will have a midday rest. If we were in Mexico, I would say it's siesta time at Kruger National Park. And then we'll do the afternoon, evening drive. Matthew, for everyone's benefit, I said I would come back to Balloon, but that's one of the examples. During the middle of the day, what's the experience like of what you can do at Shiduli and at Kruger?
Because the days are a little bit shorter in winter, you are, in summer you're up at 4:30. In winter you're out on the vehicle at 6. You're back at about 9:30. Then you go straight to breakfast. There are rusks and muffins before you leave, and then there's also rusks and muffins.
Wait, I apologize for interrupting you. I want to help qualify that because you've said it twice. I know what you mean, but explain rusk because most don't.
A rusk.
Yeah.
It's almost like a biscuit, but it's I don't know. It's like quite a big biscuit that you dunk in your tea and your coffee. It's delicious. You'll want them forever once you've come here. So you'll have that and some muffins before you go off with some coffee. Then you'll have some again when you stop. Come back to a big breakfast waiting for you, and that's kind of done by about 10:30 because you are up early. Absolutely, siesta is a great thing to do. We do have a range of activities at the lodge. So if you want to do hot air ballooning, there's a helicopter flip that we do into the Blythe River Canyon. It's the 3rd biggest canyon in the world, which is about 40 minutes away. We have, I think I mentioned the spa treatments already. We do a gin tasting. We do interactive cooking. There's a whole bunch of things that we can organize if anyone is interested to do that. I'll be honest, my favorite thing to do when I'm on safari is just to relax, to sit by the pool, read a book. I've mentioned gin and tonics a few times. You might think I drink too much. And then it's lunch at about 1 or 2. And then, again, people just kind of relax, catch up. The lodge is nice and spacious. There's a whole bunch of things to do there. And then you're almost back on safari again. So you can make your day busy, or you can relax and take it easy. I like to take it easy, but there's a range of activities there if you want to.
Yeah, and in your 30s, you're too young to take it easy. You should be running. Kathy, anything you want to add in terms of other kinds of things that you do at Kruger and Shiduli?
Look, I totally agree with Matthew. I think when you get into that kind of bush vibe, you're actually more inclined to do what Matthew said and relax. Because if you're sitting by the pool, you're sipping on a cocktail, or you're reading a book, then you hear the sounds of the bush around you and crickets and all the small animal noises and the birds, and you're sitting with a pair of binoculars looking at the beautiful birds. The Kruger have the most amazing birds, by the way. And you've been up really early, so you're probably quite tired. So I tend to agree with Matthew. It's lovely just immersing yourself in that whole sort of feeling of being in the bush and being in nature without rushing around all the time. And you get up really early in the morning and you want to do extra activities, that's great, but not every day. I think it's nice to just sit by the pool after breakfast, listen to the sounds of the bush around you with no other things going on in your head, and just listen to the birds. And you can spot beautiful birds. If you're into bird watching, you're going to love the Kruger.
and one of the very popular things to do is a bushwalk.
Yes.
They have guided walks that you'll be able to do. You can make reservations for that at the lodge. I think in general, I just want to continue to put an exclamation point on the fact that you're there for 5 days and 4 nights. If we were coming to Kruger you see many trips. If you take a cruise to Durban on the eastern coast of South Africa, they come to Kruger for 1 night. It's just a completely different experience than the sweet spot of 5 days and 4 nights. So you have lots of choice of what you want to do and will not feel like you're missing out, which is the overriding thing that I want to make sure that we do. Let's continue on the itinerary. So day 5 is a full day at Kruger. Day 6 is another full day at Kruger Safari. Again, our morning, our afternoon, breakfast, lunch, dinner, rusk snack. While I have not done this at Shiduli, I am for sure going to be doing the gin and tonics in the bush because Matthew has sold me on doing gin and tonics in the bush. Then on day 8, I'm sorry, go back, David, to day 7. One of the things that I also want to mention, we have a little bit about this, but explain, Kathy, the idea of Boma dinners and being able to eat outdoors if the weather is good. Explain what that experience is like when you're on safari.
Okay, so in all the lodges, they like to do this at least one of the evenings that you're there. You've got like, you sit outside under the stars. It's usually, the Boma dinner is usually in some form of barbecue, am I right, Matthew? Or as we call a braai, where the meat is cooked over the fire. It's a very authentic experience. They usually have a fire pit at some point in the Boma. The stars are above you. I'm sure they do it at Chiduli as well, but sometimes they have some of the staff to maybe sing a song or do some local African entertainment for you. It's a very, very cohesive experience where you can all sit around this big fire in front of you and discuss your game viewing for the day, what you've seen. It's lovely, as opposed to just sitting in front of it at a table in a kind of a restaurant environment.
Yeah.
So you're sitting outdoors, and the positive thing about August in the Kruger is it's not rainy season. It will be quite cold at night, but there's no rain at that time of the year. So the chances of you having a Boma dinner or maybe even two are pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah. And Matthew, I was just
there's a rule in the Boma. If you talk politics after 2 glasses of red wine, you have to walk.
It's banned.
Matthew, I was just going to add in terms of kind of giving us a quick description of what food is like at Chiduli.
Yeah, so I mean, we've learned again, we follow the data. The food in South Africa is very Western. I mentioned to you guys in the beginning, I have 3 siblings who live in the States, 2 in Seattle and 1 in Denver. And I've been a few times. There is very little difference between the type of food. Everything that you eat, you will recognize. There might be 1 or 2 kind of iterations of a sausage, which we call a boerewors. But aside from that, it's everything that you guys will be used to. We might throw in 1 or 2 kind of local African delicacies just for fun. But for the most part, South Africa is Western in terms of how it's positioned. Everyone speaks English. Everything will be quite familiar to you. Obviously, the safari experience is will blow your mind. But in terms of food, there's nothing funny. It is really, really good, and there's a lot of it as well. So I advise that you try and lose a couple of pounds because most people end up rolling out of safari.
Exactly right.
Sorry. If I could just mention something, you must also realize if anyone has any dietary requirements, whether you're vegetarian or you've got celiac disease or whatever the case might be, the lodge will cater for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Before we move on to day 8, coming back to Johannesburg, I wanted the 2 of you to talk about health issues. There's a lot of misconception here in the United States about traveling to Africa and concerns about disease, what kind of shots need to be done in advance. Kind of just summarize for us what's required, what's not required, general thoughts about staying healthy while in Africa.
Shall I go? I'm putting my hand up like in class. Okay, so first of all, you don't need any shots to come to South Africa.
None. Wait, Kathy, I want to stop you just to make sure our in-demand watchers later. Kathy just said there are no shots required. We'll have to say that 50 times because it's not heard clearly. Nothing is required in going to South Africa.
No vaccinations, contrary to what a lot of, I often find clients go to these travel clinics in the US and they're told, oh, you must have a typhoid and you must have a yellow fever. You do not need any of that. You do not need any vaccinations whatsoever for where you're going. The Kruger National Park is classified as a malaria area. However, August is low risk season. You agree, Matthew? It's not peak season for malaria. We do suggest that you take malaria tablets although you must remember people live in these areas and they don't live on malaria tablets. So a lot of our clients opt to just use insect repellents at night, because that's really only when you really need to be concerned, I guess, on your extremities. But it is low risk malaria season, unlike our summer months. But that's it. You really don't need anything else. And the water's safe to drink here, although bottled water is also readily available. We all drink tap water here. There is no typhoid, there is no Ebola. You're all good to go.
Yeah, and just on the malaria, I mean, I have two small children. You know, we've been going for years and years and years now. I'm there every single month. I'm not saying you mustn't. I think you must get proper medical advice.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't take any antimalarials. No one I know has ever contracted it. We haven't had a case of malaria at Korongo in 25 years. So again, you know, that's not advice from me. I'm just telling you that if you are worried about it, there isn't any reason to be. But like I said, I would follow what your doctor tells you, and take it from.
Yeah.
And you know, the insect repellents, they've got mosquito nets in the rooms.
Yeah.
Insect repellents work really well. I personally have never taken malaria tablets either, but it's absolutely up to you, as Matthew said. But it's really, it is considered low risk season. If you're going in summer months where there's a lot of rain, then I would say probably more, you know, take malaria tablets, but it's low risk.
Both of you were very clear on health risk. One other thing that I provide is from my seat as escort recommendation. I'm from Florida. I was born in Florida. I've lived in Florida my entire life. We understand mosquitoes in Florida. We don't think about malaria risk. We don't think about et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We understand what that is, and if there is a significant mosquito issue, which there is not at this time of the year at Kruger, we protect ourselves in terms of repellent, and we all understand that. And the only reason I draw such attention to this is one of the areas that's very difficult to break through, because media says over and over and over and over again, and the information, I think, largely is inaccurate.
And scaremongering.
Just one more point to make. You know, Kathy will talk to the hospitals in Johannesburg and Cape Town, which are all world class, really are. But in Hoedspruit, or in where we are specifically, we have very good hospitals within 45 minutes. If there's an emergency, we have airvac, so you know, helicopters can land. I'm just telling you that you are safe. You don't have to worry about it, and there are very well established kind of supply chains and routes that get you to a very good doctor very quickly. So you don't have to worry about being in the middle of nowhere in Africa with no medical care. It's just not the case.
Yeah.
No, I agree 100%. We've actually got some of the best trained doctors are well known as being South African.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So day 7, then David, we move to day 8. We are sad that we are leaving Kruger. We will do on day 8 one more morning safari drive, safari experience this morning, and then we will travel back to Johannesburg. We stay one more night in Johannesburg again to be able to reposition. It's too difficult to travel from Kruger and to fly to Cape Town from the surface road. So we stay one more night just to make it relaxed and convenient to fly. And we overnight in Johannesburg. Then on day 9, we go and we fly to Cape Town. We are in Cape Town for 4 nights. You've already heard us say, for me, this is a highlight experience. I love this itinerary because of the contrast of the metropolitan melting pot that Johannesburg is, the animal experience at Kruger, and then the sheer pleasure of Cape Town. Cape Town is a mix of Paris and Amsterdam and Miami, the best parts of Miami, by the way. And it has this beautiful, beautiful feel. Kathy, you live in Cape Town. Just give us kind of a Dime's explanation about Cape Town.
Okay, well, I never grew up in Cape Town. So I've been in Cape Town for about 30 years. And I don't think I would ever leave Cape Town again. It's probably one of the best run cities in South Africa. It's well known for that. It's highly diverse. Cape Town is really well known in the film industry because they filmed quite a lot of well-known movies in Cape Town because you've got such diverse areas where 1 minute you're in the winelands and the next minute you could actually be in Paris or a European city. And then you've got the beaches, you've got the history, you've got the mountain, obviously Table Mountain's iconic to Cape Town. You've got a huge wealth of history and culture. So we've got a lot of cultures in Cape Town. You've got a big Cape Malay community where you've got sort of Muslim sort of feel to it, but everyone gets on and everyone's wonderful here. You've got a big mix of food, from Cape Malay food to local food to European food and very Western food. So you've got such an array of sightseeing and beauty from almost the tip of Africa, because Cape Point isn't quite the tip of Africa, to our wonderful wine tastings. We've got some of the top restaurants in South Africa as well. You've got beautiful old Cape Dutch architecture, historical buildings. You've got the Dutch influence. You've got the French influence. It is the most amazing city. And I'm not just saying that because I live here. Cape Town has actually been voted one of the best cities in the world numerous times in the last few years.
That's absolutely true. It consistently makes Condé Nast Traveler's top 10 list.
Absolutely. And every time you turn a corner, there's something beautiful to see.
Yeah. You can see penguins in Cape Town. You can swim with the great white sharks in a cage.
Not quite swim with, but
well, yes, in the cage. And of course, for me, one of the absolute highlights is a lot of people may know, they may not know, South Africa has some of the best wines in the world. And I am a red wine drinker, and my goodness, Cape Town is heaven. If you are a wine connoisseur, which I consider myself to be. So we fly to Cape Town, again, very leisurely paced. You stay 4 nights. It's the sweet spot. No rushing in and rushing out. No 2-night stay even. I advocate to tour operators that run tours to stay at least 2 nights. 3 nights is better. 4 nights is outstanding. And that's what this itinerary does. It says 4 nights in Cape Town. On day 10, after our welcome dinner, we'll do comprehensive sightseeing in Cape Town. Lots of things to see and do. A lovely ride Table Mountain, which is a lot of fun. Many things to do. On day 11, we have a free day. It's our final full day in Cape Town. And of course, you can do the gondola that you see in the upper right. You can go to see the penguins. There's many things to do in Cape Town. Easily, Cape Town warrants a 4-night stay. It's one of the things that I say about Paris, I say about London, I say about Rome, I say about Cape Town. It is someplace that you want to spend the time to. And that will, and then next day, we have a day at leisure in Cape Town. This is a great day out of the city if you want to do an excursion. I'm sure the travel club will arrange something definitely into the farms, huge farming interest in Cape Town, and wineries. Lovely day here on day 12. And then next day, on day 13, the trip comes to an end, and we have overnight flight back to the United States. And it's a reminder that it's actually 2 days. Cape Town is a location where you overnight to South Africa, and you overnight flight out of South Africa. And very easy connections. The next day on 14 is arrival back into the United States, and the connections are quite good. This is considered what is called an open jaw flight. You'll fly internationally from the United States to Johannesburg, and you'll fly from Cape Town. So you're flying into one city and out of another, and no problem at all in terms of making those arrangements. Next slide. We've talked extensively about Shiduli. One of the things that I want to draw your attention to is on that explanation. In South Africa, you measure in hectares, correct? It seems to me I remember that. How many hectares do you know at Shiduli?
So it's actually going to be double that size by the time you guys arrive there. So it'll be close to 40,000 acres.
Goodness, that's amazing.
So yeah, it'd be just under 20,000 hectares. The reserve that we traverse on is doubling in size in the next kind of 6 to 9 months, which we're very excited about. But it just means that almost as far as the eye can see, there is something going on, and it's space that you can drive on without being saying this is my land or whatever. It's a really nice big part of Big Five space in that part of the world.
And in terms of what Matthew just said, for our travel club members, that's very, very important. That's an experience generally you can't get in Tanzania and you can't get in Kenya. It's a little bit different because Kruger is a collection of farms, of national park, official national park, of private reserves, generally no fencing. So the animals wander at will. They're not, this is not a zoo. And so when he says we're going to, the reserve is going to move to 40,000 acres, you're talking about an immense space. And the value of that for all of us as travelers with the travel club on this experience is they have much more freedom to do the experience in the best way possible. And that's the value of what Matthew just told us. Next slide. Some pictures of Shiduli. People are constantly surprised that a safari lodge would have a pool. I laughed when Matthew said he likes to have a book and sit by the pool. Most Americans do not even realize that you can go on a luxury game safari experience and have a nice pool. And you can at Shiduli. You see the bottom middle picture. I love this picture, Matthew. It reflects on Shiduli so well, of that warm, welcoming face to say, regardless of everything else, you're going to come in here and have a great massage or a great facial or whatever your desire is. Some of the pictures of at Shiduli. Next. Exceptional wildlife sightings. The safari.
Sorry, Al, just one thing. By the time you guys arrive, the lodge would have just been properly refurbished as well. So,
excellent.
A whole bunch of really exciting stuff coming through. So you'll be some of the first people to get what will be essentially a brand new lodge.
Yeah, excellent. That is wonderful. And I want to exceptional wildlife sightings. Add my voice to the next line of seeing the best. The Big Five is guaranteed. Starred, parentheses, almost. It's a clever messaging for all of us in that we've been to Alaska. We know what the situation at Denali. It's a hit or miss in terms of the animals that you see at Denali National Park. That is not the situation here at the Shiduli Lodge and what you will experience on safari at Kruger. It is a very intense animal experience. And of course, we've given the absolute maximum ability to do that with a 5-day, 4-night stay. So that's why it's exceptional. Next. Of course, the backdrops from Shiduli, you see, which is a favorite experience of mine, the Boma dinner, outside barbecue experience with friends. The wonderful thing about this experience is we're all going to know each other. So it's like one big family at this outdoor barbecue on safari at Kruger National Park. And it's a wonderful experience. Next. 5 days, as I said, is the sweet spot. That upper left-hand picture, I draw attention to Matthew and Kathy's point. You can see in that picture, you see the spotter in the front, you see the guide as the driver guide, and then you see the elevated seating for the 3 rows. So the seating is great. for your experience. You don't have to sit behind somebody's head constantly looking around them. Next. I think we've made that point of the animals that you're going to see. Next. Lots of amenities at the Shiduli, not only in terms of the restaurant and the pool, and in terms of the spa, being able to have spa services, but also other kinds of activities that you would like to do. So again, I'm a big believer when you travel, even especially with a group, actually, choice is paramount. And one of the great things when you have stays that stay 4 nights is you have lots of choice. You're not made to do anything. So in many respects, the Shiduli Lodge, the Safari Lodge, works like a cruise ship. Think of it that way, where you have your dining and nice drinks included, your sightseeing's included, meaning the game drives, and there's other kinds of excursions that you can do. And it's all to your choice of what you want to do. You're not mandated to do anything. Next. Some of the pictures of the rooms. The other thing, the reason why the Travel Club is showing you actual pictures at Shiduli is there's this impression of from Americans that have not been to Africa or been on safari that it is, again, going to be kind of third worldish, and that is not the case. You can see here of great plumbing, great bathtub showers, toilets, bedding, comfortable bedding, sheets, etc. This is a very lavish experience in the bush. You're in the bush. Matthew, one last point about your stay. You've talked about food and dining. What would you say about the accommodations at Shiduli, the actual bedrooms?
So yeah, I mean, the first thing just to note is that everything is sparkling clean. You will get into your bed at night and you'll just feel that the sheets are crisp and spotless, and there is not a speck of dust anywhere in the room. I mean, we make sure that every single night, every single turn down is done at 150%. So just the first thing you'll notice is, wow, my room is sparkling clean all the time. You don't have to lift a finger. So you will go out on drive, you'll come back, your room will be absolutely spotless. If you do worry, there obviously are safes on site. That is not something that you need to worry about. I'm just saying that if you feel uncomfortable at someone cleaning the room for you, you must just let us know. They are, very light and airy. One of the things you must note is that in the camp, we do have fences around the camp. So you don't have, lions walking around the bedrooms. We make sure that there is a fence there. But you do have the small animals that, I wouldn't say they knock on your door, but a warthog or an Inyala or whatever it happens that make their way around the camp. So you often see that. And then, I think, another thing that, will be different from these pictures is that already we've started the refurbishment that I spoke to you about. So everything is much nicer than you see here already. So that's just a little exciter for you to get excited about. And I think that's about it. It really is a nice space. I spend a lot of time at Shiduli with my kids. And just a very good atmosphere. There's an amazing bar in the middle of the lodge, nice and social. So if you come back from a drive or you finish your dinner and you want to go and have a nightcap with a new friend that you've made, there's that kind of option. But the rooms are nice, they're spacious, they're clean. And full Wi-Fi, full air conditioning. So very, very comfortable.
Excellent. Next slide, David. I'll answer the waitlist question in just a bit. Dining, as we talked about, the Boma dinner, as you can see in the upper left, the morning meal, very inclusive at Shiduli. Next. Air transfers are offered for $149. So when you come back to Johannesburg, you can make your own arrangements to fly to Cape Town, or you can travel with the group. It includes all of your transfers for $149. It's a convenience flight for you. If you would like to do that, you can do that, and you'll fly nonstop from Johannesburg to Cape Town. After you leave Kruger to Johannesburg, stay one night, and then you continue on to Cape Town. Next. Now, just a quick, we're only going to spend a couple of moments on this. There are two options in addition to the South African experience. One is going to Victoria Falls, and it is August 20 to 25. It is 6 days, which includes the overnight. It's $14.99. It stays in Victoria Falls. It includes your airfare from Johannesburg. Next slide. So day one, you overnight to Johannesburg. This is independent of the South African itinerary. Next slide. Day two, you are going to arrive in Johannesburg. You'll have a welcome in Johannesburg, and you stay one night in Johannesburg. Then on next slide, day three, it includes air with the travel club makes your round trip air reservations for you if you would like, or you can do it yourself. It's an easy flight from Johannesburg to Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe. It's $149 round trip if you would like to do that. The stay in Victoria Falls is quite spectacular. Victoria Falls is a nice gateway to a great national park in Botswana as a day trip. From Victoria Falls, and also Victoria Falls. I have, of course, I'm sure most people in the meeting have done Niagara. I have also done the largest waterfall group in the world, which is Iguazu on the border of Brazil and Argentina. But Victoria Falls is actually the largest single fall in the world. It is considered a single sheet of water, which is larger than anything that you see in Iguazu, and significantly larger than the Niagara in New York. You will fly on day three to Victoria. On day four, it will include sightseeing of the falls themselves, and quite spectacular and very accessible. And the hotel that is used is only 2 miles from the park entrance for Victoria, so very convenient. On day five is a day trip to Chobe, and this is where the four corners come together, and you do a day trip which does a half-day water safari at Chobe National Park in Botswana, and a half-day on safari vehicle. The real highlight of this experience for me is the water safari. You take a boat, you see in the middle picture. Chobe has the largest concentration of elephants in the world. And just a spectacular experience to do it by water. The first time I did this and had elephants cross the river using their snouts as snorkels is just an amazing experience to have. Completely different than what you will do at Kruger because of the emphasis of the water feature at Chobe National Park. And this is done as a day trip for a round trip from Victoria Falls from your hotel. Then the next day, on day 6, you will fly from Victoria Falls to Johannesburg. And now this arrival in Johannesburg will be the same day that international guests coming from the United States arrive in Johannesburg. One of the advantages of Victoria Falls, and Kathy, I think very smartly, makes the note of the time of adjustment when you go on safari to Kruger and to Shiduli. You won't have that adjustment because you've been on the continent for 6 days and 5 nights. And so this arrives in Johannesburg on the same day that all of the guests doing the South African portion of the tour is arriving. So you will not have any of the jet lag issues that the guests flying in for the day. Our goal for all of you that are coming to Johannesburg on the overnight of day one is just to keep you up on your arrival day in Johannesburg, so you stay up long enough to overcome the jet lag. That's not what we'll be worrying about here, because you'll fly from Victoria Falls to Johannesburg. So that's the Victoria Falls pre-tour. Next slide.
Sorry, could I interrupt quickly, Al?
Oh, sure, please.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to excuse myself.
Yeah.
Because I've got young children, so if you don't mind.
Kathy, thank you very much for being with us. We're really excited to be with you next
You're
year.
all going to fall in love with South Africa, Southern Africa. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Promise.
Sorry,
And Matthew, I'm going to say goodbye to you too, because
I also have some small children and a wife who's
very good.
Thank you,
And that's right.
everyone.
Remember, it's very late now for Kathy and Matthew in Africa. Thank you very much for participating today.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for letting us join you and share our beautiful country with you verbally and soon in person, I hope.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Good night. Bye. Bye.
And two different lodges are being used at Victoria for the Victoria Falls. Next slide. And some pictures here of the Courtney Lodge, smaller than Shaduli. These are very intimate boutique 4-star hotels. These are all 4-star, both properties that are being used. Next slide. Breakfast is included at both of the lodges at Victoria Falls. Next slide. And you can see at Chobe, when you do the river cruise, you can see the river boat. The integration is elephants, 120,000. It's an amazing experience. And then you do that in half a day, and you do the safari vehicle on land for the other half of the day. Chobe is very close to Victoria Falls, crossing the border from Zimbabwe to Botswana. Quite an outstanding experience. And this day is completely different than the safari experience at Kruger National Park, principally because of the elephants and being able to do the safari experience on the Chobe River. Next. Then there is a post tour, if you would like, September 5 to 11. It is 7 days. It is $13.99, and it goes it adds. So you've had the ability to do Victoria Falls, you've had the ability to do South Africa, and then you are able to go to Madagascar for the giant lemurs and that safari experience, which is completely different than Chobe in Botswana or in South Africa. Next slide. This destination is incredibly special because Madagascar is not frequently visited. It's not on the international jet set of itineraries. It's not like Kenya or Tanzania or South Africa for that matter. It's much more isolated. It is easy to get to from Johannesburg or Cape Town, flying to Madagascar. And of course, the big highlight is the safari experience for the lemurs, the only place in the world that you can see them. You see the special trees. Everyone has seen this before that's been to Animal Kingdom. They have fake versions of this tree at Animal Kingdom, which I always smile when I look at it.
Yeah, before the meeting started, somebody asked if my backdrop was AI. This is actually the same location in Madagascar. It's called Baobab Lane for the big baobab trees.
That's right. And Endasabi is the very famous national park that you'll visit as part of this trip. Next slide. Again, on this, when the trip in Cape Town finishes, you will fly to the capital of Madagascar. And you see that on the map. You can fly nonstop. It's not very far, about 4 hours. So it's a very convenient trip to Madagascar. And by far and away, by the way, the easiest, most convenient way to get to Madagascar is on that nonstop from Cape Town. Next slide. You'll stay in the capital, Andasibe National Park. You see the lodge that you stay in there. Again, a different experience than Kruger or the experience to Botswana. This is a smaller, more intimate lodge in the stay, and the principal jungle experience, it's a jungle experience as opposed to a bush experience, is for the lemurs. Next day. And a lot of people do not realize, I love that picture on the right, the upper right, there are so many different kinds of lemurs. Madagascar has been isolated as an island for millions of years. And because of that isolation, the mammals have developed in unique ways. And this is the only place in the world where you can see lemurs in the wild. You have the ability to interact. There are programs where with no motion, they will come close to you. You're not allowed to feed them. I'm always asked that question. But many, many different species of lemurs on your experience on day 3. Next. We return back to the capital from the safari experience at the national park, and we stay in the capital. We do comprehensive sightseeing in the capital. Next slide. You have a full day at leisure, lots to see and do on day 5. And then next, on day 6, you'll depart Madagascar and overnight to the USA. So it allows you to do more, if you'd like to do more, than South Africa. You can do Victoria Falls, Botswana, Zimbabwe, pre the safari experience in South Africa, and you can go to Madagascar as a post experience. And then you'll fly from Madagascar back to the US, arriving on their overnight flight on day 7. Next slide. On any of the safari experience, you can make reservations for $999, and then final payment is 120 days prior to the departure. As I told you, the Travel Club is getting ready to provide the link for the 2028 departure. It's identical to what we have covered today. So it's the identical departure. And somebody asked about the wait list for the 2027 departure. What you do is you click on that link, or you could take your phone right now and put your camera over that QR code, that squiggly box. It will take you to the booking form, and then you're making a reservation for the 27 trip. There's no deposit for it. You go onto the wait list with no payment, and you make the reservation exactly like you would do, and that will get you on the wait list. The Travel Club will send you a confirmation for the wait list, and that's how it's set up if you would like to go for 2027. And I highly, highly recommend you do that, because space is going to open for the trip in 2027. It's just a question of exactly when. Next slide. So that's our program for 2027 and 2028. I didn't see the complete question there, David, of questions about the free time.
Yeah. So Jan's asking about free time in Madagascar. Madagascar, I know you guys have traveled quite a bit. Very similar experience to what you would get in Costa Rica. There's a lot of ecotourism. There's plenty of jungle safaris. There is shopping. There's animal encounters that you can do, which Al had mentioned. There's wildlife parks. It is a beautiful, beautiful small isolated island, as Al said, and they know that they have very unique natural resources, and so ecotourism is very big there. I highly recommend. They have jungle tours. They've got trams. They've got a variety of things, and we'll have suggestions closer to departure.
That's right.
But it's definitely the African version of Costa Rica. Is kind of a good way to think of it with the ecotourism.
Another question that came up that I made the notation for is about the hot air balloon. I haven't seen the pricing yet for 2027 for the hot air balloon, but let me explain how that does work. And then the same for a helicopter flight. You can do the canyon flight scene. Matthew told you the third largest canyon in the world is only 40 minutes from the Shiduli Lodge, and you can do it by helicopter. Either way, it is organized as a complete excursion. So transportation is included in the excursion to do the hot air balloon. It is a morning hot air balloon. It is done before breakfast. It's a sunrise experience. Or you can do an early afternoon balloon experience. You have a choice of both, and it includes the transportation. The rates are not available yet for 2027, but they will be, and the Travel Club will provide all of that information to you.
Yeah.
The helicopter ride is approximately 30 minutes from takeoff to landing through the canyon, not far in South Africa, not far from the Shiduli Lodge. And then there's many other experiences that you can do. I mentioned the bushwalk that you can make a reservation for. There's also a number of interesting animal rehabilitation and animal hospital touring experiences where they'll have a lion center for injured lions, that varieties of different kinds of things. Same for giraffes, etc. And all of that will be available. I'm sorry, the question there, David.
I've got several questions. So to go to the top of the list, because we have some other ones as well.
Sure.
Mary has asked the drive from Johannesburg to Kruger.
Johannesburg to Kruger is approximately 4 hours. It's half day. You're going to arrive for lunch, essentially an afternoon lunch, and then you'll have checked in to Shiduli, and then you'll do a game drive in the late afternoon on that day. From your travel at the end of your 4-night stay at Shiduli, you will do a morning game drive in the morning at sunrise, approximately 3 hours. There's variance of time. It's irrelevant to get into the exact timing because it depends on what the animal experience is for the morning or afternoon. But you'll do the half day. You'll have lunch, and then after lunch, you'll leave for Johannesburg, which is approximately 4 hours. So that's how the travel works on that day. And by the way, for those that are watching on demand in YouTube or on the Travel Club's page later, again, I remind you, there's this feeling or understanding that this is very remote, slow, dirt road transportation. It is not. You heard the explanation that you're talking about motorway from a major, very large city in South Africa into the bush, but you don't get to that kind of road where you transfer, because the motor coach transportation is not even allowed at Kruger. You get to a transfer station where then the small private vehicles meet you to get you to the Shiduli Lodge. But very modern travel and transportation between Kruger National Park and Johannesburg.
This one was answered during the meeting, but I will repeat it. With 60 people on the trip, do vehicles go to different locations to prevent everyone going to the same location? In this wildlife preserve, they have a very strict rule. Only 2 vehicles at a time will go to the same locations. So everyone will be dispersed to different locations, and that helps everyone be able to see animals without them being scared away or putting the animals at stress.
If I could add one other thing to that, David, which I think is very important, and I mentioned this, but I want to echo it again because I understand how conversations get repeated as fact. Shiduli Lodge has 31 rooms. Those 31 rooms would have been sold regardless. They would be doing safari game drives regardless. The exciting thing for me as one of your 4 escorts for the travel club on this trip is that all 31 rooms are the Happening Travel Club. And so as a result, we are able to do this safari experience where they're going to operate, just as you've said, not overwhelming any experience. You're going to be in the portion of Kruger National Park that is 40,000 acres. It's going to double in size by the time the travel club comes in August of 2027. And there's no additional rooms. There's 31 rooms for that 40,000 acres. So an incredible experience. It is so exciting to me because even with my experience, I've never done this before, where the entire lodge is people that all know each other. And by the way, I don't recall a slide about it, but we're getting ready to have our first social meeting. I don't know, David, if you remember off the top of your head, or Shabam remembers off the top of his head, but we're going to have a social here in the Villages very soon, where it'll be the first of a number of socials that we do.
On August 13th.
August 13th, there's going to be a social for guests that are confirmed or on wait list for the August 24 departure here in the Villages. And you can come, and it'll allow you to begin to meet the other safari participants. Over the course of this coming year, the Travel Club is very committed to the guests that are going to safari in Africa have one of the best travel experiences they've ever had. And that starts with everyone knowing each other. And very exciting to me that they're doing that.
Yep. Mr. Trotwine is asking what type of clothes to take and which to leave home. So some reminders for this is the weather. This is, August is winter on the southern hemisphere, but we're also in Africa in the savannah. So the highs will be in the mid to high 70s, low 80s. It can be chilly at night because it's not as humid. So you're looking at the 50s, possibly high 40s. So you'll want to have layers, and you'll want to be comfortable. You're going to be outside. You want to avoid bright colors because that can upset the animals. I don't want to use the word upset, but it can distract them. And you don't have to worry about anything formal. We're not going to a gala. We're going to be in the bush, as it were, and we'll be at a lovely, very, very classy hotel, but there's no ballroom. You don't have to bring the suit and tie. Just dress comfortably for mobility to get around, and in layers so that you can be ready as the weather changes.
That's exactly a bullseye of explanation. Yep.
Let's see. Mr. Eastman, I see Shubham has answered about getting on the wait list. You just have to fill out the booking form. Let's see. And then Carolyn is asking if accommodations have been made for Johannesburg and Cape Town yet. We are working with hotels, and as the group grows, we may continue to reassess which ones we're working at and possibly get even better ones. That's one of the great things about the flexibility of the travel club. But we do try to make sure breakfast is included every day, even at those hotels. So at most, we should have breakfast every day. It's something I always look into.
We for sure.
Yeah.
The trip is for sure breakfast every day.
Yeah, but lunch and dinner at those locations will likely not be included, although we may have options that will offer closer to departure. When you're at Shiduli, it is all inclusive, so everything is included: breakfast, lunch, dinner at Shiduli.
And we also, for the trip, David, we have the welcome dinner in Johannesburg and the welcome dinner in Cape Town.
Yes. And then Mr. Eastman, the slide said 24 hours of driving. That wasn't at all accurate. That was just showing a route. You will be flying between Johannesburg and Cape Town, not doing the drive. So that was just to show what parts of the country you'll be in, and in relation to each other. So that was that was if you were to drive it. We're not going to be driving that.
Yeah. No.
Jan's asking also for the Madagascar visa shots, vaccines. Again, that's all details we'll be sending closer. Generally speaking, it's going to be similar to South Africa and what you'll be experiencing there, but we'll have the specifics on that as you get closer. Laundry facilities, I will check back with Matthew on that to see if they have. I'm guessing they probably do not have self-service laundry, but they may have a laundry service you can use at Shaduli.
For sure, if I can add, David, in Johannesburg and in Cape Town, it's a purchase service, but laundry is available at your hotel in Johannesburg and in Cape Town.
Mr. Trotwine's also asking about currency. The currency is the South African rand. It's a lot of places take credit card. Most places will take credit card. So one thing I always recommend when people are traveling, check to see if your credit card has what's known as a foreign transaction fee. If there's no foreign transaction fee, then using it overseas is the same as using it here in the US, and it will do the conversion for you automatically. We will get with Kathy and our other ground operators to get suggestions on how much currency we should recommend you bring closer to departure, and that would be in the final documents as well. Mrs. Roach is asking about flight arrival time. You can set the flight to arrive anytime you would like, and we will set your transfers for that when you're arriving for the trip. Most of the flights are going to arrive late morning, early afternoon, but it may vary. Someone else asked about flights recommendations. I personally just use Google Flights because it lets you compare every airline, multiple options you can put in there, like whether if you want economy or first class, if you want to have a limited number of layovers. So it lets you search on your own for what you prefer, because as Al mentioned, you don't want somebody else to book your flight internationally, because if something happens, only they can make changes, not you. So you could end up stuck at the airport while trying to get a hold of Expedia or someone else. I always recommend booking it yourself.
David, if I can add one note, if this were me, I wouldn't even be thinking about air for the August 24th departure. First, you can't even search for air until approximately November 1st. It won't even come into anyone's system, because generally it's 330 days prior to departure. And then in the time period after air opens, because the travel club is going to provide transfers for you regardless of what you book, your time in your searching for air, once you can do it now and look at a date within 330 days. It's not the dates of travel that you would do, but you could do that. You could begin to look at airlines through Google Flight or Kayak. You can begin to look at flights and start to see what flights from Florida, for example, from Orlando. What does Orlando Cape Town look like? Or I'm sorry, Orlando, Johannesburg, with the return from Cape Town to Orlando. What is it recommending in choices? You can start to look at that. Especially, you're starting to look at perhaps international carriers, not U.S. carriers, that are providing connection in Europe or connection in South Africa. In South America. And in many instances, those will be priced very competitively for you and will be interesting because they allow free stopover. So you might fly to, as I said, Amsterdam or Paris and stay for a couple of days, and it costs you nothing in terms of the air deviation for the stay. That you can begin to do. But outside of, it's really not productive for you to start to look for air, because first, it's not possible. It's not available yet. And then second, there's many choices that you would want to start to look at first. So air is not, I know we all worry about it, but air is not an important issue currently for this trip.
And that answer goes to the flights to the post tour in Madagascar. Again, it's an international flight. You'll want to have full control over your own flight plans. That we provide transfers from the airports for you, but that is not something you would want me to plan for you, because if something happens, you could be stuck, which I would not want to be the one to put you in that situation, because it's 3 a.m. my time and I miss your call. but the flights are fairly easy to arrange. So yeah, the Madagascar flights you would do yourself. The one within the trip itself will arrange because it's a domestic flight in South Africa. The escorts will be with you. That makes it much easier. For the post tour, it's a more difficult situation.
That's right. Exactly.
Anybody else have any questions? You can type them, or if you click the red microphone on the bottom left, you can also ask your questions by unmuting yourself. So if anybody has anything, just let me know.
I see on our invoice, we've already paid, we're already in. I'm seeing $149 as a tour extension airfare and inter-trip airfare, $149. So that means you will look after getting that flight for us?
That's right.
That's for the flight between Johannesburg and Cape Town. That means we'll take care of the flight and the transfers and everything for that portion, and you'll be with the group. You know, we may have to split the group between 2 or 3 flights because it's a large group, but you'll be traveling with the group at that point, so we'll take care of it.
Thank you.
And most importantly of all, and it might not be important, is you'll be traveling with us. The escorts will be handling your transfer and flight, so we'll be with you.
Yes, it's one of the reasons I have 4 escorts going on this trip, because there will be multiple flights.
Yeah.
Binoculars provided on game drives. I will check with Matthew, but I'm going to tell you from my conversations with them, I don't think binoculars are going to be required at all. The trackers know the animals, they know what to look for, and because there's only 2 trucks going together at a time, they'll be able to bring you into very close proximity to the animals that they find. As Al mentioned, this is not Denali, where you might see a wolf from on top of a mountain from 3 miles away. You are going to be in a game preserve with very experienced people who are familiar with the animals and the locations, and you're going to have close-up experiences while on the safaris.
Yeah, that's right.
Any other questions? I don't see any coming from YouTube or Facebook either. So with that, I will say thank you to everybody who joined us. If you are watching this afterwards, or if you think of a question afterwards and would like to ask us, you can always email us at info@happening.travel, or you can also call or text us at 352-900-1101, and we'll get your questions back to you. Yeah, most people will have phones. Honestly, unless you are a professional photographer, your phone cameras are very, very, very sufficient for taking photos in these situations. I actually went to college for digital graphics and photography, and my current Samsung phone has a better camera than my $400 my $400 Canon camera I had at the time. So yeah, it's unless you want a telescopic lens, I wouldn't bother at all with a professional camera. Bring your phone, because A, you're going to need your phone anyways, and B, you probably have insurance, so if you lose your phone, it's going to get replaced by your carrier, and it'll be better.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.